Hello? One of the most important questions in human history is this: did Jesus really exist? In a world filled with speculation, myths, and theories, it's essential that when we analyze a historical figure, we apply the same standard of evidence that we would to any other event from antiquity. That means looking at the authenticity of the sources, their historical proximity to the events, and whether the accounts align with the culture and context of the time. Let's begin with the most extraordinary aspect: prophecy. The Bible contains over 300 prophecies about the Messiah, all fulfilled in the person of Jesus. For example, Micah prophesied that the Messiah would be born in Bethlehem, 700 years before Jesus was born. Micah 5:2. Isaiah, writing around the same time, foretold a virgin birth. Isaiah 7:14. The prophet Zechariah said the Messiah would be betrayed for 30 pieces of silver. Zechariah 11:12-13. David, writing in Psalm 22, described in detail a crucifixion, a form of execution that didn't even exist at that time. He even mentioned that his clothing would be divided and gambled for. Psalm 22:18. Both Isaiah 53 and various Psalms speak about the resurrection, long before it happened. The entire Isaiah 53 chapter is widely regarded as the cornerstone of messianic prophecy. It describes a suffering servant, despised and rejected, pierced for our transgressions, and ultimately victorious. All these predictions, centuries apart, fulfilled precisely in one person. This is where mathematics comes in. In 1976, Peter Stoner, a professor of mathematics and astronomy, published a study in the journal Science Speaks. He calculated that the probability of just 8 of these 300 prophecies being fulfilled in one person is 1 in 10^17. That's 1 followed by 17 zeros. That's like covering the state of Texas in silver dollars, 2 feet deep, and randomly picking the marked one blindfolded on the first try. But what about historical documents? Can we trust the New Testament as a historical source? Let's look at the age of the manuscripts. Many of the ancient texts we consider historically credible have very few copies and are separated by long time gaps from their originals. Tacitus's Annals, written around AD 100, earliest copy from 800 years later. Julius Caesar's Gallic Wars, written around 50 BC, earliest copy from 1,000 years later. Thucydides' History, earliest copies are from 1,300 years after it was written. Aristotle's works, gap of about 100 years, compare that with the New Testament. The Codex Sinaiticus, discovered by Constantine von Tischendorf at St. Catherine's Monastery, dates to the 4th century, only about 300 years after Jesus. But it gets better. In the 19th century, twin sisters Agnes Smith Lewis and Margaret Dunlop Gibson discovered an ancient Syriac translation of the Gospels at St. Catherine's Monastery, dating to around AD 170 Waity, just 150 years after Jesus. Then there's the John Rylands Papyrus, 52, discovered in Egypt, dated between AD 117 and 125. This is a fragment of the Gospel of John, confirming that by the time John was writing his Gospel near the end of the 1st century, copies were already circulating in Egypt. And there's more. The Magdalen Papyrus, housed at Oxford University, contains portions of the Gospel of Matthew and has been dated by some scholars to as early as AD 60-70. That means these writings were being read while eyewitnesses of Jesus were still alive. Over time, more than 20,700 manuscripts of the New Testament have been discovered, by far the most documented text in all of antiquity. For comparison, the Iliad by Homer has about 1,800 known manuscripts, and most other ancient texts have fewer than 100. But it's not only Christian sources that speak of Jesus. Flavius Josephus, a 1st century Jewish historian, mentions Jesus and his disciples in his work Antiquities of the Jews. Cornelius Tacitus, a Roman historian, wrote about Jesus' execution under Pontius Pilate. Pliny the Younger, in a letter to Emperor Trajan, describes early Christian worship and their devotion to Christ. Suetonius, in the Lives of the 12 Caesars, refers to disturbances in Rome caused by followers of Chrestus, a likely reference to Christ. Even critics and non-believers documented his influence. The Syrian philosopher Bar-Serapion, in a letter to his son, compares Jesus to Socrates and Pythagoras. The satirist Lucian of Samosata, although mocking Christians, confirms their belief in a crucified leader. The Babylonian Talmud, a central text of Rabbinic Judaism, acknowledges Jesus and his actions, and the historian Thallus, writing around AD 52, refers to the darkness that occurred during the crucifixion. The abundance, proximity, and consistency of these sources overwhelmingly support the historical existence of Jesus. Add to that the extraordinary alignment of fulfilled prophecies, and we're not just talking about belief, we're talking about history, logic, and evidence. If this sparked your curiosity, imagine what else the Bible has to offer. Make sure to subscribe for more videos that explore faith, history, and reason. Hit the like button, share this with a friend, and let's keep asking the big questions together. Thanks for watching. Stay curious, stay thoughtful, and remember, truth invites exploration. If the life and legacy of Jesus have left such a profound mark on history, culture, and millions of lives, maybe it's worth taking a closer look. Don't stop at this video. Open the Bible, read it for yourself, ask questions, and seek real answers. The journey of faith is not about blind belief. It's about discovering truth through evidence, reflection, and personal experience. Keep searching, keep learning, and let the truth guide you. I'll see you in the next video.